This recording was made at the 2019 North Star Conference, A Perfect Brightness of Hope. North Star International is wholly independent of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It does not receive funding or direction from the Church. The following content should not be interpreted as official statements of church doctrines, beliefs, or practices. North Star International does not take a position regarding any specific therapy, including reparative or conversion therapy, SOCE. North Star International is not a therapeutic organization. It is a peer-led lay religious support ministry. Our focus is to support individuals as they seek to align their lives with gospel principles and as disciples of Jesus Christ.
I had the honor and privilege of introducing our next presenter, and I'm so excited to have her here. She speaks to my heart, her music speaks to my heart, and her lyrics and her music are so, they make her stand out as an LDS artist. They are just so real and raw, and the things that she sings about, I know that it will touch your heart today. I am... As Bridget mentioned yesterday, she said, I can say whatever I want, can I? Because they're all out in the other room. But Bridget mentioned the other day that we were at a timeout for women a while back, and she ran to go talk to the sisters in Zion. And as soon as she ran to get them, I'm like, well, I'm going to run and get Calee Reed. So I ran over there and stalked her and talked to her, and I hope she doesn't mind I share this, but I told her what I was interested in having her come and perform for you all today, and she caught tears in her eyes, and I could tell she was really excited about that. She checked her schedule and could come. So we're just so honored and grateful to have her today. Calee Reed, she grew up in San Diego, California, and was taught to sing by her mother. At a very young age, her mother taught her to sing. When Calee's mother passed away in 2011 after a battle with cancer, Calee decided to write her first album, The Waiting Place, as a tribute to her. Her second album, What Heaven Feels Like, was released in 2015 and features inspirational songs in Calee's unique, fresh, and fun style. Calee experienced another painful loss when her first marriage ended in a divorce. She penned her third album, Believer, which is my favorite, during her years as a single full-time mom. She's now remarried and has experienced the chaos and joy of raising 6 children. Thank you so much, Calee Reed. We're so excited to have you here today.
Hi. Oh my goodness. I feel a little bit sad that I'm going after Tim because that was fabulous. So just, wow, that was really, really good. I'm going to sing you a song, because that's what I do that's wow. So I'm going to start with that. This is Come Thou Fount. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace, streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Give me some melodious songs sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mountain fixed upon it, mount of thy great a debtor, daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness, like a fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I Can I steal it from you? Thank you. Okay, thank you so, so much. I'm going to tell you guys just a little bit about me. Who can relate to this? Anyone? Okay. So when I was little, I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I had this idea of what my life would look like, right? And it was going to be really easy, point A to point B, which is the celestial kingdom, and that's it. It's just going to be a really easy road. And I thought I would graduate from high school and go to BYU because righteousness. And then I would, thank you for laughing. Sometimes I tell that joke in Utah and it's so awkward because no one laughs. Thank you for laughing. Okay, well, among friends. Okay, I'm okay. I'm seriously like sweating up here. I'm so scared. Okay. And so, and I didn't want to get married right away because that was gross to me. I wanted to go on a mission, again, righteousness. And then I would come home and immediately get married because I didn't want to be an old mom because that was gross to me. I was like the dumbest. I was the worst back then. Why was I so terrible? Anyways, it turns out I'm an old mom now, and it rocks. So there's nothing wrong with being an old mom. And then I would get famous because priorities, and then that's what my life would look like. And I just couldn't see why it would look like anything different. So imagine my shock when in my early 20s, I did go to BYU, and I hated it. And then I dropped out, and my parents were devastated, and I didn't go on a mission because, unrighteousness. And then my mom was diagnosed with a terminal illness that absolutely tore our family to bits. And then she passed away before I got married, and I found myself at the ripe old spinstery Mormon age of 28, and I wasn't married yet, which in Mormon years, that's like 437. That's like the conversion. That's the conversion. And so I was just really feeling it, and I was really, really struggling to just know what I should do in my life. And then I met my ex-husband, and we dated for a really long time because I had seen my sister go through a divorce, and I didn't want that for myself, and so we dated forever, and then we got married, and all the things were just right where they should be, right? All the things were checked off, and I had all these expectations that since I had waited so long and I had put in my time, that it was all just going to be beautiful marital bliss and babies, and instead that marriage was indescribably difficult, and it ended after 3.5 years in a divorce. And I did have a beautiful baby, but she came to me with some health problems. Oh no, here's this. Anyone? This is God sitting next to us like, isn't it fun? Yay! And your teeth are grit like, yay! This is amazing! Anyways, I think, yes. So here is a picture of my daughter. I know it's so sad. She was like the saddest kid you've ever met. She never slept. She was born with really bad acid reflux, which for a lot of babies they grow out of. They call it colic sometimes. But for her, it's GERD. It's the actual gastroesophageal reflux disease, which is just not fun for anyone. So she was awake and screaming for the first 3.5 years of her life. And if you're thinking to yourself, I know this child. How do I know this child? This child looks familiar to me. There we go. This is my true claim to fame, is that I birthed the human grumpy cat. So make sure you get my autograph after this. I'm very impressive. So here's a little rundown of what most of my kids look like now. I got divorced and spent a few years as a single mom, and then I remarried a widower. He lost his wife very unexpectedly and tragically a few years ago. So again, not what you expect, right? And so we have a beautiful blended family with 6 children. You're like, wait, I can't, what? There are only 5. It's because we've been so busy, I have not had time to take new pictures. But if you want to know what the other one looks like, she's over there. So you can go take a look at her. She's pretty dang cute. So we've got 6, and I'm just really tired, mostly. I'm just really tired, just holding on. So when when I was going through my divorce, there are lots of things in our lives that are so heavy and so big that we don't talk about them. Because people will pass you in the halls at church and they say things like, how are you? And you're like, oh, I don't know how honest to be. Do you have Kleenex and Xanax? Because you're going to need both. If I tell you the things right now, you're going to need them. And have you ever just, opened up just a little bit to someone you're telling them, and you're like maybe thinking you're testing the waters, see how much they can hang. And you tell them something and like kind of wait. Have you ever had someone turn to you and say, well, isn't it just nice to know that God won't give us anything that you can't handle? And then you want to strangle that person. Have you ever felt that way? Hey, my people, I found you. I found my people. And so I have found that it's frowned upon to strangle people in the hallways at church. Don't do that. Don't do that. Wait till after the block in the parking lot. That's where you strangle them, and then the getaway car is just right there. Just leave. Less judgment if people don't know it's you. So one Sunday, I went into Relief Society, and written up on the board it said, "This too shall pass." And I just thought, oh, I just can't today. I just can't. If I have to listen to one more, have faith, and you're just going to be happily ever after, my brain will explode. I cannot do it today. And so I, pretend I can hear my kids screaming like, "What? Oh, my baby's crying in nursery. Bye," because that's the kind of person I am. I'm like, I don't want to hear this. I'm out of here. And so I was like making my way out when the teacher finished this phrase in a way that I had never heard before, and it made me turn around and sit down right in the very front row. She said, "This too shall pass like a kidney stone." I thought, oh, the scriptures are true. I didn't know. I didn't know how true they were. This is why you have to read the footnotes. It's the Joseph Smith translation, that you got to read at the bottom. Otherwise, you don't know how true the scriptures are. And I went and sat down right in the very front, and the lesson here being that with enough narcotics, you can get through anything. And it's a terrible joke, sinners. Don't laugh at that one. Sinners. And that's not the lesson, right? The lesson is that things can be so, so hard. And sometimes things being so hard is not some cosmic mistake. Sometimes that's the way that it's just got to be for you, for whatever reason. But with God as our surgeon, with God as our doctor, who can help us manage our pain, even if it lasts a long time, even if we need surgery through it, right? Spiritual surgery, whatever you want to call it, we can get through it. It might not be pretty and it might not be pleasant, but we can get through it. This too shall pass like a kidney stone. This phrase got me through several years of my life. When I started to share this story or these experiences, with my divorce across the country with different groups of women through the Time Out for Women program, these different women started flooding my email inbox with a Japanese art form called kintsugi. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but it's really beautiful. And what it is, I'm going to show you a picture. It says, in Japan, broken objects are often repaired with gold. The flaw is seen as a unique piece of the object's history, which adds to its beauty. Now, for me, during this time in my life, all of my hopes and my dreams, my expectations for my life were just in shambles. If I had ever felt broken before in my life, it was now. My mother had just gone through an excruciating, horrific, torturous battle with cancer, which she lost. My marriage was decimated. There was nothing that I could do to save it. My child was sick. It was a really dark time for me. And these women reaching out saying, hey, look at this thing. When you go to church, you don't have to feel like the odd man out. You don't have to feel so isolated. You don't have to feel so judged. You don't have to feel so broken, even though I did. And the parallel here of Christ's atonement being the gold that runs through all of my brokenness, that picks up all of my shattered pieces and makes me into something more beautiful and more valuable because of my experiences, because of my sufferings, my challenges, whatever it is. It was so powerful to me that I sat down with a friend of mine and wrote what is now the first track on my latest album called Believer. It's a song called Broken and Beautiful. And the music video that we did for it is all about kintsugi, and so I'm going to share it with you now. And as this music video has been watched and shared hundreds of thousands of times on social media over the last several months, my testimony has gotten so much deeper that this experience, this need for the atonement in our lives, this feeling of brokenness, it's not something that just belongs to me as a person, or to just a handful of us in this room, or a handful of us in this world. We all need Christ's atonement to make us into something more. And he will when we have the courage to hand him all the pieces. This is Broken and Beautiful. The light shines through me, all the broken pieces reflect his light. It's a beautiful sight. All the scars and spaces where the battles hurt me, let more light in, flood me with him. You may see flaws in me, I'm not perfect, but I was never meant to be. Keep your view of your perfect world. I was never meant to be that girl. Broken, and I am beautiful. He'll use each piece to make a masterpiece from the ashes. He's creating me. I'm broken, broken and beautiful. Broken and beautiful. Every shade and color all fit together. Each break designed with me in mind. Every brilliant facet tells a different story. In every broken dream, his love is seen. Keep your view of your perfect world. I was never meant to be that girl. Broken and beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. From the pulpit in a general conference several years ago, Elder Richard G. Scott said, "So that the period of mortal testing and growth would yield its greatest benefit, you are taught and prepared for the circumstances you would personally encounter in mortality. Our Father's pattern for guiding you through mortal life was explained." That's so powerful to me. And it begs the question, why don't I feel like that then? How do I tap into that divine mentorship that happened? If I was given the study guide and all, the cheat sheet and the answers, how do I access that? Because it's so nice that it happened, but I don't remember, right? And so how do I get to that info? And there's one principle of the gospel that I have found in my life and all of my years of studying. In the last 10 years since I decided to start studying the scriptures, there's one gospel principle that has come back to me over and over again as the foundation for how we tap into this. And so I want to talk about it. But first I'm going to sing you guys another song that hopefully I will cry less during, because the words to that last one were really good and you couldn't even hear them. You guys should all go download it because the words are really good. It's my secret ploy to get you to download my music. You didn't hear it, it was good, okay? So I'm going to sing you guys an arrangement that I did of one of my favorite hymns. It's this song about trusting in God even when we can't see the big picture, when all we can see is one step ahead of us at a time. This is Lead Kindly Light. Lead kindly light amidst the gloom. Oh, lead me on. The night is dark and I am far from home. Oh, lead me on. Keep thou my feet. I do not ask to see. Oh, the distant scene. One step is enough for me. Also, I wish I felt more like the lyrics to this song. I never will nor pray that thou should lead me on. I love to choose and see my path, but now lead me on. Keep thou my feet. I do not ask to see. Oh, the distant scene. One step is enough for me. Lead kindly light, lead me on. Lead kindly light, lead me on. Ooh. So long thy power has blessed me, and still it will lead me on. O'er more of fen or crag and torrent till the night is gone. Keep thou my feet. I do not ask to see the distant scene. One step is enough for me. Thank you. So I'm going to preface this gospel truth with this quote. And I want you guys to just be thinking, what could this principle be? It sounds like it's kind of a big deal. Richard C. Edgley said this: "This brings me to what I consider to be perhaps the most fundamental doctrine of the gospel. It is a doctrine so fundamental that even the atonement of our beloved Savior is based upon it. It's a doctrine that is the cornerstone of what Alma called the plan of happiness. It is a doctrine of hope. It is a doctrine of perspective. It is a doctrine of faith. It is a doctrine of vision. And it is a doctrine of strength and fortification. What could this thing be? This deep doctrine? The most fundamental, perhaps. The power of just knowing and remembering who you are and what your divine potential is. Have you ever thought of knowing that you are a child of God in those terms? That even the atonement rests upon that foundational truth, that it is the cornerstone of the plan of happiness, that you are a child of God. Have you ever thought about it in that way before? I mean, how many times have you heard or said or read or sung that you are a child of God? Like countless numbers, right? So many times, like a number that is like astronomically huge. So many times. We start talking about it from the time we're like this big. So we know it, right? Like we got it. We got the answer. We know. But do you really know it? Is it the lens through which you view yourself and your life? Does it frame all of your thoughts and decisions? Is that the conviction that you have that deep that you are a child of God? Is that where you are? I want to walk through a little process. Go with me on this, and we're going to see maybe, if you're on a different place in the scale that you thought originally. So I'm going to take you through this little process. Imagine that we're walking down the street somewhere in a few days, and I come up to you because I'm really friendly, and I'm like, oh, hey, I know you. Who are you? I met you at that thing, the North Star thing. I met you at the thing. Who are you? Because that's actually probably exactly what I would say if that happened. And so I want you to think, we all have like our 5 favorite things that we say about ourselves, right, when we first meet someone. And it's usually your name first, or else it gets awkward so fast. It's like, hi, who are you? I like blue. It's like, oh. I have to go now, bye, right? Like you start with your name, and then it's like, I don't know, it's usually like stuff that you do, right, or the place that you're from. Maybe it's like a hobby that you have, or like I'm Sarah and I like to crochet, play Pokemon Go, right? Like I don't know what your life is, Sarah. I don't know what Sarah likes. Whatever it is, like maybe your age, right? At any point would you say, and I'm a child of God? Would you just like sneak that in there? I'm Jason and I'm from Draper. I'm 27. I'm a child of God. I like blue. Would you say that? You probably wouldn't, right? You probably wouldn't, and why not? Because like you're trying to make friends, not freak people out. We don't usually lead with our faith, right? That way, we're kind of a little more laid back with it. We don't want to like make anyone scared. But did you at least think it? Is it at least something that you think about yourself when someone says, tell me a little bit about yourself? What are your favorite things about yourself? Is it on the list of things that like rolls through your head? I would go out on a limb and say that for most of us, probably not. Because we tend to equate ourselves, and Tim did such a fabulous job with this, right? With these different defining characteristics that are generally outside of the bubble of like who we are according to deity, right? So it's our sexuality, where we're from, what our kids do, what we do as a career, the kinds of stuff we have. That's who we are in like a day-to-day sense. But what would happen if you walked into church? What's today? Is tomorrow Sunday? It's Saturday. I'm so tired. So tomorrow's Sunday. And we have 8:30 church. You want to talk about rude? I have 6 children. I'm allowed to go inactive over that, right? Just for the year until the hour gets later, and then we'll come back. It's fine. Thank you. Seriously, some audiences would be like, shh. The microphone from her. Sin. So I forgot where I was in my funny story now. Oh, wait. So if you walk into church tomorrow, and written up on the board in whatever block we have, because what is even church anymore these days? But in whatever block you're in where there's a chalkboard somewhere, it says, who are you? With like a big plate of brownies underneath. What is your only answer to the question, who are you? I'm a child of God, right? Like if you go in there and you're like, I'm Becky, people are like, Becky. It's embarrassing. That's not the answer, Becky. Who brought Becky? Tell her the answer. She's not going to get a brownie, you know? Like, you know what the answer is. The answer is, I am a child of God. Please give me my brownie now. Right? You know it. Now, what magical thing happens, do you think, when we walk into a church building that the only answer to the question, who are you, is, I am a child of God. You don't even have a name. Okay? I'm a child of God. But when you walk out of the doors of that church building, it's not even on the list of things that you think about yourself, let alone that you would ever say out loud to another person. Isn't that interesting? It's indicative of a really important disconnect that I think some, if not all of us, struggle with, which is we've heard it and said it and sung it and read it so many times that we know the answer here in our minds. But we don't know it in our hearts. It is a skin-deep testimony. It is not a conviction that permeates our thoughts and our actions, the way we view our struggles, the way we view our God, the way we view each other. That's what we need, that kind of conviction of this truth that we are children of God in order to tap into all of that pre-existing study and tutelage that happened before this life. You have to know what you mean to God to tap into that. In my humble personal experience, Mary G. Romney said this, one of my favorite quotes ever. The truth is, man is a child of God, a God in embryo. That man is a child of God is the most important knowledge available to mankind. It affects everything. So who are you? It took me up until I think I was 30 when I was asked to give this fireside on being a child of God. And I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to fall asleep. It's going to be a snooze fest because we already know all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, people are going to be falling out of their chairs. I can't do this. And it was like life-changing for me to prepare for this fireside. Because for the first time in my life, I actually made it a matter of study and prayer. I didn't just read one article, I read tons of articles. I went to the scriptures, I read other people's experiences. I studied like it mattered, like it was the most important knowledge. And then I went to God in fasting and prayer, and I asked him to confirm to me that I am his. And it was life-changing. It changed me. And that's not a one-time thing, right? Like, this is a truth that I have to go back to and study over and over again, reconnect with over and over again. And so if you're in this space where you think, oh, I've already gotten this testimony, I already know, let me just remind you of this. Henry B. Eyring said, faith has a short shelf life. And if you haven't reconnected with this truth sometime in the, recent, distant past, will you do it now? Recent, distant does not make any sense. Don't listen to that. Pretend like that didn't happen, okay? In the recent past. Will you do it? Do it for yourself. See if that doesn't make a difference. This is a challenge that Harold B. Lee issued over the pulpit in the 70s at General Conference. He said, I charge you to say again and again to yourselves, as the primary organization has taught children to sing, I am a child of God. And so by doing, begin today to live closer to the ideals which will make your life happier and more fruitful because of an awakened realization of who you are. Who here doesn't want to have a happier life, a more fruitful life? We all want that, right? We all want happiness. Here is a way to do it, according to multiple prophets and apostles. It is worth your time. And this challenge, this means make it the wallpaper on your phone. Make it your lock screen. How many times a day do you pick up your phone? Every time you do, say it to yourself. Put it in your car. Put it on your mirror, right? Go back to your young men, young women's days. Have all your cute little handouts that are like, you're special, right? Put it on your mirror. Say it to yourself, right? Don't take it from me. Take it from Harold B. Lee. He knows way more than I do. Okay, I'm going to sing a song. I am. No, I'm not ready. Can we go back? I actually do this for a living. Can we talk about that? This is embarrassing. I don't use PowerPoint. I don't. And so I use Prezi. Does anyone in here use Prezi? And so oh my God, thank you. I am PowerPoint is scary. So I don't know how to work PowerPoint. I'm very sorry. It's embarrassing. Okay. So what I wanted to get to, and I thought that I had another slide here, and I don't. Fail, Calee. But the Marianne G. Romney quote again, the truth is, you are a child of God. You are a God in embryo. And I love what Tim said, that you have been designed intentionally. Designed by the master creator who doesn't make mistakes, right? He knows all the pieces. It's not like he accidentally reached into the wrong bucket somewhere along the way. He knows. And I don't pretend to know all the whys of your life. I don't know all the whys of my life. I don't know a lot of things. But I know, again, that this truth makes a difference. I'm going to sing you guys a song now that I'm mentally prepared for it. This is a song that I wrote during one of the hardest times of my life. And it really is like reading to you straight out of my journal. There have been many times where I have questioned so deeply and felt so far from God. And I believe that a lot of times he wants us to sit in those spaces because it motivates us to find him, to seek him, and to see if he won't come to us and rescue us in our need. This is a song called Believer. Help me to be the believer that I want to be. Want the things you want from me when I'm lost along the way. And help me have patience in the moments when it's hard to see your hand guiding me. Help me get out of my own way. Oh Lord, help me believe. Help me to be the believer that I want to be. Feel the things you feel for me when the feeling doesn't stay. And help me to see the things I don't want to see. It's your hand showing me. Help me, Lord, I pray. Oh, Lord, help me believe. Give voice to the voice that always questions. Give voice to the pain, the fear, the doubt. Give way to the moments when I'm faithless. I can't let you in if I shut them out. No, help me to be the believer that I want to be. Give the things you've given me, the words you'd have me say, and help me to walk this path that you've set for me. Help me walk with steady feet. Help me get out of my own way. Oh Lord, help me believe. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, yeah. want the things you want from me when I'm lost along the way. Oh, and help me find patience in the moments when it's hard to see your hand guiding me. Help me get out of my own way. Oh Lord, oh Lord, help me believe. Thank you. Okay, there's a quote by Mandy Hale. It is one of my most favorite quotes ever. Let's see. Nope, we don't have time. Too many stories. Nope, not even you. This is actually better in Prezi than Prezi, because in Prezi right now it'd be like making everyone motion sick as it like flies around. We've got to go one more. I'm skipping all the slides. Too far. Okay, here we go. Yes, perfect. This. Let's do this. Have you ever felt this way? It says, if this is God's plan, God is a terrible planner. And then it says, no offense if you're reading this, God, you did a really good job with other stuff like waterfalls and pandas. Have you ever felt like that? Right? Oh, okay. So like I mentioned earlier, right, there was like a really hard decade of my life that was just a lot of things that were happening. And through all the things with like my mom's sickness and my marriage falling apart and my divorce and my sick kid and all of that stuff and my years as a single mom, I think the hardest part for me was this feeling like I was just never gonna get through it. I was just treading water. You know, have you ever felt like that? Like it just keeps coming, all the things that you're struggling with. You just can't get a break. And everyone else is moving forward and everyone else is getting answers. And I'm just stuck, waiting, wondering what on earth God is doing with me in my life. And it was about this time that I made a study of patience because I figured that God just hadn't abandoned me to my own devices, although I certainly deserve him to do that to me. And what I learned was both helpful and beautiful and also annoying, which is that God uses patience and waiting a lot with people. Like every scriptural figure you can think of spent a lot of time wandering around and waiting on God. And not just like we read through these scriptures sometimes like, oh, and it's only a verse long, so it must not have been that long. Yeah, but the verse says 40 years. You know what I mean? Like we like squish everything down in the scriptures, but there's some like gnarly waiting things that happen. So in case you need a memory jog, because I've decided that wandering and waiting is a part of our heritage as believers. I think I have a slide about this. I do. Here's some pioneers. Also, I think that's a drawing of the children of Israel. It said pioneers, and all of a sudden I was like, pioneers are only on the bottom. Okay, so here's some people who waited in the scriptures. Ready? Noah, Abraham, Moses, Joseph, David, Daniel, Jesus himself, Paul. How about Sariah waiting 80 years to get pregnant? And then she had to be pregnant in an 80-year-old body. Like, I'm sure that felt like the longest 9 months in the history of the world, right? I can't even imagine how incredible that woman must have been. How about the children of Israel wandering in the wilderness for 40 years? More modern, Nephi's people wandering in the wilderness, the brother of Jared. Moroni watched the destruction of his entire people and then just wandered around waiting to die. He did, seriously. And you read the scriptures and it's like, well, I'm not dead yet, so I came back to journal some more. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he's doing. And we read through this stuff like these people have no idea the pain that I'm in, the angst. It's like, no. Read this. You don't know what he was going through. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just really, really intense. How about the, who was it? Brother of Jared who, like, came across on the boat, the football boats? Why do we say they're like footballs? It's doctrine. It's fine. And so, I have the microphone, so it's true. And so, have you ever been on a boat for like 10 minutes? Can you imagine being on a boat that's shaped, it's tight like unto a dish? Like, what does that even mean? And you're like, with the peak on the edges, and you're like rolling through the ocean for over a year? And your mother-in-law is there? No, long suffering, okay? There are problems. It's something that God uses. He does it over and over again. And the important thing that this study did for me was it shifted my perspective out of, where I was, out of why is God doing this to me and into what is God trying to teach me here? Because once the people learn the thing, they get to move on, usually. Not always, but most of the time, right? And that was my goal. And so I started thinking, what is God trying to teach me? And it's my testimony that all of us find ourselves in these wilderness places, right? If God has been using this wandering and waiting tactic with prophets and apostles and disciples, good people across the span of the history of his creation here, then certainly we are in good company as we wander in our own wildernesses. There are things to be learned while you wander, and there is good to be done while you wait. What is it that God is trying to teach you in your life right now? Through your challenges, your struggles. Instead of why me, what is God trying to teach me? And shockingly enough, I have chit-chatted my way past my time that I'm supposed to be so much further past this. So give me just a second to assess what I'm cutting. Hang on. Oh dear. Okay, I'm going to skip jokes and go to feely things. Okay. So what is God trying to teach you? I'm going to skip to an experience that I had with my mom. I'm going to ask my husband something. This is so awkward. I don't usually do this. I promise I'm a professional. Should I do cleanse you or this is the Christ? What do you think? It's only time for one. No pressure, John. Make the right choice, John. Okay, great, done. That's what I was going to do anyways. We're still the same, yay. Okay. We would have fought otherwise, but I was like, that's a wrong answer, John. Okay, I'll tell you guys a story. There have been many times, like I mentioned before I sang Believer, there have been so many times in my life where I have found myself just drowning in questions. Why? Why is this so hard? Why do you allow these things to happen? What on earth do you even want me to do with this? Is it always going to be like this? Is it always going to feel this way? When do I get my break? When do I get my happily ever after? And one of the things that I've struggled with the most is all of my questions surrounding my mother and her death. She died at the age of 50 after, like I said, a horrific battle with colon cancer. And I just have a lot of questions for God about why that was necessary. If he knew he was going to take her anyways, then why so much suffering for so long before? Was that really necessary? And I had an experience a few summers ago that helped me see just a teeny little bit of beauty in losing my mom. And I want to share that with you because I think a lot of us will leave this life with unanswered questions, and we won't know the answers till we sit down with God. Right? And that's a burden that a lot of us carry, is the why. So I was sitting in church. This was one of the first Sundays that John and I went to church together with all of our children, and I was really nervous about it, and because that's a lot of kids, right? I only had one. And we were sitting there, and as I mentioned earlier, John was a widower. And so one of the twin boys, who then was 5, came and he nestled up under my arm. And John and I had only been dating for a short while, a couple months maybe. And he scooted up under my arm and he was really cuddly. And he looked up at me with his big blue eyes. And he asked me, "Hey, do you know where my mommy is?" And my mother heart just went, "Oh, yeah, bud. Yeah, she's in heaven." And he looked at me for a minute and kind of smiled and went back to doing what he was doing, and just my stomach was in knots, right? Because it was hard for me to lose my mom, and this teeny little boy is dealing with what he's dealing with. It's gut-wrenching. And it only took a second, and I had this thought. And I looked down at him and I said, hey, do you know who she's there with? And he looked up at me and was like, "No." And I said, "She's there with my mommy." And his little face, looked at me as, only a child can, and gave me this big smile and went back to doing what he was doing. And it was such an intense moment for me. I was flooded with this love for him. This little boy who I'd really only known for a short period of time. But it was so overwhelming, the sacredness of being able to connect with another child of God through that shared heartbreak. Have you ever heard of the term? It's called empathy in agony. Have you ever heard of that? I have such a strong testimony that at least one of the reasons God allows us to suffer through our trials is because our ultimate reason for being here is to become more like our Savior. And Christ is so endlessly empathetic. Having experienced the atonement, he knows exactly where we stand. And maybe, just maybe, I'm not saying it's all the why, but maybe a tiny portion of the why that you are searching for in your life is because it is making you more like your Savior. There's a quote by Brennan Manning that says, "What God does not protect you from, he will perfect you through." And I've read it in this little shortened way that says, God will not protect us from the pain that will perfect us. I've seen the way that God has shaped me through my challenges, and I believe that it is his intention to shape and perfect and to sanctify each of us through them, and that he can when we stay truly centered in Christ. And I'm going to close with this last song. It's a song called Cleanse You, and it's a song that I wrote, again, during one of the hardest times of my life. And it's all about what God may be doing with your life as he brings you into deep waters. This is Cleanse You.
Waves come high, my ship is sinking, and I'm thinking of letting go. The water's deep, and I am gasping, struggling to hear you, Lord, Captain of my soul. Why did you lead me here to this uncharted sea? Did you bring me here just to drown me? What if I didn't bring you here to drown you, but to cleanse you? He whispers, and what if you chose to breathe me in? Let this wash you clean again. He whispers, I know the water's deep, but if you only knew, it isn't meant to drown you. He whispers, but to cleanse you. The sun sets low, my faith is failing, and I'm sailing deep into the night. The fog rolls in, and I am searching, trying again in vain to find your guiding light. Why did you lead me here to this uncharted sea? Did you bring me here just to drown me? What if I didn't bring you here to drown you, but to cleanse you? He whispers, and what if you chose to breathe me in? Let this wash you clean again. He whispers, I know the
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. And I spent a lot of time right there just bearing my testimony. So I'm going to leave this with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.